Okay, today's lesson is on stem and leaf plots, and it's just a type of graph, and a lot of times people look at this and say, oh yeah, that's easy, and you're exactly right. This is a nice, easy graph to read, and that's why you do see it from time to time out in the real world. Newspapers, magazines, studies that are being done and published. So stem and leaf plots, they will be easy to understand, which is why they're used quite often, and also they're easy for you to create. So make sure you have a spiral notebook, and if you are real particular about your notes, you might want a ruler. It's not really required, but optional if you want it. Know that a stem and leaf plot is really organizing your data in order, numerical order, small to large. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to, otherwise, let's keep on going. I want you to take a look at this set of data that I have here. These are some fictitious grades here, grades for math. Actually, they would be a good sample of the grades on the last test. You guys did really, really well. So let's say these are all of our grades. There are two parts to these grades. We have stem and we have leaves. So here are all the stems. The stems are going to be the numbers to the left side of the number, and the leaves are going to be the very last digit. So looking at the 93, the 9 is the stem, and the 3 is the leaf. Okay? Now I've taken that data and I've went ahead here and done a stem and leaf plot for you. Notice that all of these stems are in order. I took a look at all of this data and said, gosh, all of the grades are in the 80s, 90s, and 100s. So do I really need to draw a stem for 50s? Well, no, I don't, because I don't have any grades in the 50s. So I only have 80s, 90s, and 100s, so I have an 8, a 9, and a 10. Notice they're in order. And then I have my leaves. So when you go to put your data into your graph, I would say, okay, here's my 80s. All of my 80 numbers. I would find all my 80 numbers and go ahead and look at the leaves. We've got a 2 and a 9. Make sure your leaves are in numerical order as well. Okay? Also, it's helpful to leave some kind of space in between the numbers so that it doesn't get confused. Also, now I'm going to look at my 90s. Here are my two 90 numbers. I've got a 3 for a leaf and a 7, and they've been placed in numerical order. And a 100. I wanted to show you something that would have a double-digit stem. Can that work? Yes, it sure can. 10 comes after 9. If we had a grade at 110, we would put an 11 here. Okay? Let's just say we had 110 as our grade. A lot of extra bonus points. We would put the 11 here and the 0 here. It doesn't matter whether it's a single-digit stem or a double-digit stem. Notice how all the numbers are in order, and if you look at it carefully, it makes it pretty easy to read, don't you think? I do have a title, and I also have a key. Make sure you have both of those to complete your graph. If you need time to copy that down, go ahead and pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to an example that you're going to try. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Jot down all of these numbers here and make your own stem and leaf plot. And then come on back and I'll do one with you. All right, so looking at all of this data, we need to know, I don't think I put up here, did I? What kind of data could this be? Well, what about numbers of students attending tutoring? That sounds logical. All right, we need to have a title, so let's go ahead and put tutoring numbers. Of course, you can create your own. And as you look through the numbers, I want you to look carefully and say, gosh, looking at all my stems, I've got 15s, 20s, 20s, there's a 10, 30s. All my numbers range between the teens, the 20s, and the 30s. So when I go to write my stems, I'm going to be looking for 1s, 2s, and 3s. Okay? All right, now looking at the 1s, how I would do it is I would say, okay, I've got all of these numbers in the teens, between 10 and 19. And out of all of those, I've got, this would be my smallest, so I'm going to jot that one down, and it is helpful to cross them off as you use them, just so you don't get confused. I've got two 15s. So do you record both 5s? Yes, you absolutely do. You need to show that there were 2 days that 15 students came. And then we have 18. So here for the teens, we have 0, 5, 5, and 8. Notice they're in order. Do the same thing for 20. Okay, I've got 22, 25, and 28. 22 would be the smallest, 25 would be next, 28 would be last. That takes care of all my 20s. And I'm going to cross them off just to make sure I don't leave any out. And now I have my 30s, 35 and 36. So I'm going to put those in. I need to make sure I have a key. For my key, I'm just going to pick some random number. How about 22? And I'm going to draw, okay, 22, and what does that equal? So that somebody who's looking at my stem and leaf plot truly does understand what I have here. Some typical questions that you're going to see for stem and leaf plots are finding the central tendencies. So go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and find the mean, median, mode, and range and total of all those scores. And then come on back and I'll give you the answers and you can see how you did. Do you remember how to find the mean? Remember, you have to add them all up and then divide by the number of numbers. So you could certainly add them up from this list, or you could add them up from this list. You've got 10, 15, 15, 18, plus 22, 25, and 28, 35, and 36. When you add all those up, did you get 204? And there are 9 numbers. We are dividing by 9, and that gives you the mean. That came out to be a repeating decimal, didn't it? 22.6 repeating. So around an average of 23 people came to tutoring. All right, what about median? What I like about stem and leaf plots is median is really easy to find. I'm going to cross off one large and one small, and I'm working my way towards the middle. These are already in order. So I'm going to cross off a small and a big, a small and a big, and I'm going to keep working my way in. Careful on that one. Smallest, next biggest. This is the number that's left. My median is 22. Now mode. Remember, mode is the number that appears most often. Most often. 15 occurred twice. That's the only number that occurred twice. My mode would be 15. And my range. Range is taking the largest number, which was 36, and subtracting the smallest number. So my range is 26. What was the total scores? Do you remember? 9. Remember, we used that up here for mean. Typically, that's what you'll be asked, is different modes of central tendency on looking at stem and leaf plots. As you can see, they're pretty easy to construct as well as to read, and that's why you're going to see them in society, in your regular everyday life and reading. We'll see you soon. We'll do some practice problems and an experiment as well in class. See you soon.